Welcome back to the Reddit Archive series, where we go over some of the most disturbing posts from all corners of Reddit. In this episode, we'll be focusing on unsettling cases of stalking from victims and even the stalkers themselves. As always, a huge shout out goes out to our channel members. You can also become a member and unlock ad-free videos, as well as channel emotes by clicking the join button, or support the channel by simply making sure that you're subscribed. I also have a very important message I would like to give out at the end of the video, so make sure you watch until the very end so that you don't miss it. But enough of that, let's dive in. Our first post was uploaded onto the r/2x chromosomes sub, a subreddit where women can share both serious and silly content intended for women's perspectives. The post was uploaded by a user named Throwaway Mean Boss on May 10th, 2023. A guy I met at a work event out of town won't stop bothering me. Hello, I created a throwaway so that I can share it anonymously. Around 10 months ago, I, 25F, went on my first work-related trip to a different city. There I met Jerry, 43M. I know there's a huge age gap, but I know myself. I'm generally into older guys. I met him at the hotel lobby where I was staying. He asked me out for coffee. I said yes, and he was really charismatic. I was blushing the entire time, and we spent a good weekend together. No sex, by the way. We did kiss multiple times. He gave me his number, and he didn't want to add me on social media because he said he doesn't use it. But he did give me an Instagram account to contact. This really made me a bit suspicious. I had this gut feeling that something about him was not right. So, I decided to search and do some background work. I tried to search him on Facebook and other social media, but I hit a wall. Then I remembered that he gave me a business card. It was a card from his company. I also asked for a friend's help to find something on him. I don't know. I was just adamant of finding some dirt on him. Eventually, we did find some interesting facts. That jerk is married with 2 kids. I saw his kids. One is about 16 or 17. Another one is about 10 or 11. I wanted to throw up. I know my own sister tried to kill herself because her boyfriend cheated on her, so I know the pain even if it's secondhanded. I cut off all contact with him and blocked his number, a few weeks after I totally ghosted him. I saw him in the parking lot of my office. He knew where I worked. Again, my fault because I told him where I worked. Then he asked me why I didn't return his calls and blocked him on everything. I screamed at him, called him a liar, and I told him that I knew he was married, that he had kids, and in fact his oldest son is closer to my brother's age, that this was really disgusting. He broke down crying, begging me not to leave him, and he kept ranting about how unhappy he was in his marriage. He just wanted someone to love him, and when he saw me, he fell in love with me, and he wants to be with me. I told him that it's not possible. He's married, and I cannot do this to a woman. Even if I don't know her, I have the decency to not ruin someone's marriage and forever be known as a homewrecker. But he kept begging. I had to threaten him that I would shout so that people could throw him out. But the calling and stalking didn't stop. I asked a friend and co-worker of mine to escort me to my car because I was so afraid that Jerry would come towards me. He sent me messages after messages saying he was sorry, that he can be a better man if I'm with him. So I had to deactivate my social media for a while. For like 5 months. It was calm and quiet. I had no issues. Then, I get a message in my email from Jerry saying that he has divorced his wife for my sake, and since he's not with his wife anymore, he and I can be together. I was really creeped out by this. I told him over and over again I don't want him, but the harassment didn't stop. He threatened to ruin my career. He blamed me for ruining his marriage because I had made the move on him, which is not true. He was the one who approached me first. I was just a little friendly with him. If I'd known he was married back then, I would have never reciprocated his flirting. I felt lost and kept blaming myself that maybe all of this wouldn't have happened if I had not been so friendly with him. And I also didn't want him to ruin my career, but I'm scared for my life. Edit. I think I should mention I'm not from the USA. The police in my area are corrupt, and Jerry is in a very high position in his company. He can easily ruin my career, so I'm collecting evidence because of his harassment. Understandably, the OP wanted nothing to do with this person, but as we've seen many times over, stalkers do not respond well with rejection, And while we usually think of stalkers as people who have nothing going on for themselves, this individual is different, holding a high-level position at their job, so much so that they have power over the OP's career. A commenter would doubt the stalker's claims, however, stating this under the OP's post. Divorce proceedings can't be that fast. It's not your fault. Is there a way you can move away? Actually, I don't know if he's just divorced or just separated. He told me he left his wife for me as if it will impress me, and I thought about moving, but it is scary because right here I have my family and friends. If I move to a new place, he might come there as well, and I would have no support. But a few weeks later, on May 24th, the OP came back with a second post that complicated the situation even further. My stalker's wife wants to contact me. Should I go? Hi. A couple of weeks ago I posted here asking for help. A guy I met on a work trip lied about being single. He had a wife and kids too. He has been stalking me and told me that he left his family for me, so I should be with him because he made a big sacrifice for me. I have decided to file a restraining order, but these things take time in my country. I do have my dad and uncle with me, and they're helping me find a new place and probably a new job. As soon as I can serve him with a restraining order, I can be relieved. But I'm afraid if it'll work or not, because he seems mad. His messages have been reduced because I threatened to call his wife. But the problem is, yesterday, his wife emailed me and said that she wants to meet me. She said in details that she knows that her husband has some connection with me. I have never met this woman in my life. I don't know why she wants to meet with me. I'm guessing she wants to talk. Then again, he told me that he left his wife. So how did she know my information or even my email? If I meet her, my stalker could know that I talked to his wife. I'm really scared for my life. What should I do? A part of me thinks that she might help me with my case. Has anyone been in my position? But this is where it gets weird, because commenters on the post were very suspicious of the supposed wife. I think this guy is pretending to be the wife. Block her. If you do go through with it, insist on meeting at a police station. That will reveal the lie if it's actually him because he'll try to argue out of it, but I'd still recommend not going. Edit. Down thread, someone suggested a Zoom call with a burner email, which is a much better idea, but I'd still block and ignore this message. While it does sound risky, the OP isn't wrong for considering speaking to the wife, assuming it is actually the wife and she's figuring out about the situation. But stalkers will do anything to get even a shred of attention from their victim, so extreme caution should be used when navigating through all of this. The commenter's suggestions of a Zoom call is very smart. If it is the wife, then they could safely speak and help each other out. Also, if it is the stalker pretending to be their wife, then they will more than likely avoid doing their meeting over Zoom and insist on meeting up in person, which will help confirm whether or not this person is actually who they say they are. The OP posted again for the third time a few days later on May 27th, and this post would paint a better picture of just how severe the situation truly was. So I took your advice and didn't go to see her. We had a couple of email exchanges and I told her clearly under no circumstances that I wanted to meet someone who I cannot trust. Whatever she has to say, she can say it in my email. She understood. I thought she would oppose this idea, but she told me that she had been having doubts about her husband for a long time. So she hired someone to keep an eye on him. There she found out that he's been having affairs with multiple women. The first time he did this, she forgave him, but this time he is only stuck on me. She said that she found some pictures of me on his laptop. She shared a file which contains some pictures of me coming out of my office, me going to the gym, and me going to eat. I was shaking. I was in a very emotionally vulnerable state after seeing that I could not be safe in my own life. I felt like I was being watched even now as I'm typing this. Imagine being a prisoner in your own house. I ended up telling the wife to have a Zoom meeting for 5 minutes. I used a disposable account and just for extra safety, I had the Zoom call on a public space along with a friend. I don't trust anyone at this point. I gave her some condition that I will not be showing my face. If she wants to show her face to me, then fine, it's up to her. And then I saw her for the first time. She looked like the woman I saw in Jerry's picture with his wife and kids. She was basically crying and telling me she had made a huge mistake, that she should have left that time and now he's bringing shame to her as well. I didn't say much. Just the story of how me and Jerry met. Also, Jerry lied. He didn't leave his wife. He was not separated from her. But I am sure he will be now. I just feel so exposed. I can't believe this is happening to me. I always saw this happen in movies. I'm moving in with my cousin because I don't feel safe anymore. I wish I had never met him. I feel disgusted that I kissed him and hugged him. I don't think any amount of showers is enough to wash all of that away. I also feel guilty that I broke a family too. So thanks for listening to me vent. I don't think I'll update anymore until I get the restraining order. Thankfully, this was actually the stalker's wife. But the revelation that this person had been following the OP and even taking pictures of them without their consent was terrifying. For some time, the OP did stay true to their third post and remained quiet about the situation. But ultimately, this saga reached a dramatic and horrific conclusion in the OP's fourth and final post, uploaded 3 months later, on August 10th. This will be my final update here. If you're new seeing this, the gist is this guy I met at a work trip lied to me about being single. He had a wife and kids. He stalked me, and I issued a restraining order against him. So, I just want to say there has been a huge shocking moment. Basically, my stalker, Jerry, tried to pull a Chris Watts. He attacked his wife and kids. His wife left him and he basically went to her place where she was staying with the kids and he tried to kill her with a knife. Before the police could arrive, he already did some damage to her. I don't know the details, but he punched her and busted her face, and she was in a coma for 3 weeks. I heard she's doing better now. Their oldest child got injured trying to help his mother. I wish nothing but good prayers for her and her family. The lady was nice and was so gentle with me knowing I was an affair partner of her husband. I did send her flowers, but I didn't want to visit them. Needless to say, that bastard is in jail. He'll be serving a long time, but the hearing is in September. The amount of evidence they collected against him is enough to put him up for life. I'm happy that I'm finally free, and no longer have to live in fear, but I still get scared at night. I still feel like someone is following me. I am still in therapy. I have become so isolated because of this incident that I have started to become neurotic and doubt my close friends. Anyways, I might delete this account now, but thanks to everyone who helped me. While the OP no longer has to worry about the stalker, knowing that this individual was capable of attacking his family like that, and to some extent, that he may have been motivated by his obsession with the OP, is enough to leave permanent psychological scars, and not even mentioning the trauma that the wife and children went through as well. There were no further updates by this OP, so we don't have any more confirmation on the stalker's sentencing. But if what the OP stated is correct, then this person is hopefully behind bars for a long time, and is no longer able to harm anyone. In June 2023, a user by the name HotRelation899 came on to the r/offmychest subreddit with a post about stalking, only instead of this being the story of someone being stalked, this post was from the POV of a self-proclaimed stalker themselves. I, 24F, married my husband, 28M, about a year and a half ago. The first time I saw my husband, I was a freshman in high school. He was a freshman in college. He was walking his dog at the park when he stopped to talk to my brother, because they had happened to go to high school together. That was the moment I became hooked. The same day I found his Instagram, his family's social media, and also where he lived since my brother offered to walk him home while I tagged along. When I got home that day, I knew I wanted him, but of course I was only 14 while he was 18, so I came up with a plan. I found out his younger brother was only 1 year younger than me, and would be attending my current high school. I figured that I had to befriend his younger brother by any means possible next year when he moves up as a freshman while I become a sophomore, and I did. It took around halfway of my junior year where we became best friends and he invited me over regularly to his house to hang out. This is where I was able to befriend my current husband's mom, and God did she love to talk about him. From her, I found out what college he goes to, his past girlfriends, what his elementary/middle school was, his favorite/least favorite foods, his pet peeves, what he likes, etc., etc. Eventually, when my visits started getting more and more frequent, I formally met my current husband again. I'll call him E. E would come over every other week and stay for either Friday through Sunday or Saturday to Sunday. On those days specifically, I would wear my cutest outfits to impress him, and also joke around with him a lot. Eventually, I befriended him as well. A little background on E. He is the school record holder for a certain sport at my school, which I just so happened to do. Around halfway through my senior year, E came back during the season to help coach the current high school athletes, which included me, in order to get some more volunteer hours in, and I got to spend a lot more time with him. I loved every second of it. We were friends before, but then we became much closer since I got to spend lots of extra time with him after school, where sometimes he would even drive me home since we lived relatively close. Fast forward to when I had to move away to New York City for college. E moved with me since he coincidentally got a job near my college. Edit. I lied. It wasn't a coincidence. I found out he got a job offer and applied to the college nearby his workplace. Being each other's only friend in a new state, we became incredibly close. We started dating in my sophomore year of college. He proposed to me after I graduated, and we just got married almost a year ago. He knows absolutely nothing about how I truly know him, and believes it is fate that brought us together through his younger brother. Lately, I've been debating on whether or not I should tell him, or at least his younger brother the truth, since the only reason I befriended him was to get closer to E. I feel guilty every time he tells others our love story, because the truth is, I've known him for 10 years, while he's only known me for about 7. The initial response by commenters was that she should take this secret to the grave, and that if the roles were reversed, people would say that it was incredibly creepy. But there was one comment that seemed to really get to the OP, which they would mention in an update to the post. Update. I read a reply that the best thing for myself is to keep it a secret, which is what a lot of people are saying, but the best thing for him is to tell him, and I figured that person is right. I will be telling him this Tuesday on his day off. He deserves to know who he married. Almost a whole week went by as redditors waited to see how the OP's confession went, which came in a second post, uploaded on July 6th, 2023. I told them this 4th of July, after the fireworks mostly ended and we were heading back. I asked him in the car, "Wouldn't it have been weird if we met each other before the first time we actually met? But what if we just didn't think of each other as significant at that time?" He smiled and turned to me saying, "Pfft, that's impossible. There's no universe where we could have met and I would not think of you as significant." That statement struck me in my heart, because I knew I would soon prove that sentence very wrong. But I continued on with my plan anyway. "What if I told you we have met each other before? Before that time I was introduced as his little brother's friend." He looked at me like I was crazy. So that's when I pulled over on the side of the road and pulled out my phone to show him the post I put up here before, which explained everything. He took about 8 minutes to read the whole thing, and when he finished, he put the phone down and stared straight ahead, almost like he was dumbfounded, scared, and confused all at the same time. I started throwing out every excuse and apology I could muster at that moment, for about 15 minutes straight, when he decided to tell me to stop, and I did. Then he just sat there, and sobbed uncontrollably for about 10 minutes before he finally asked me how much of our relationship and how much of my identity was fabricated according to his liking. I told him the honest truth. None of my personality or identity was fabricated for him, except for the fact of how we met. The only thing I ever changed about myself to make him like me more was lying about liking Chinese food. I hate Chinese food. But other than that, everything else was real. Although my friendship with his younger brother was built upon ill intentions, my friendship between his brother and I is now one of the most genuine friendships I have. He just cried and told me that he does not want a divorce at all, but he does want us to have some time apart so that he can absorb the truth that I gave him. He also says he expects me to tell his brother and mom this Friday, because they deserve to know the truth just as much as he did. I told him okay, and we drove the rest of the ride home in silence. When we got home, he hugged me and cried for about 5 minutes, before he got out of the car, packed his stuff, and said he would be staying at a nearby hotel for now. He said that he knows he still loves me, but he does not yet know how to react to the fact that the beginning of our relationship was very, very orchestrated. To sum it all up, I guess telling him was a success. I honestly don't know. He sent me a goodnight and I love you text last night while he was at the hotel, so I guess he's not as mad as he may be betrayed. Putting myself in the husband's shoes, I would definitely feel betrayed, but I would also be terrified. Someone who can orchestrate something to this level and keep quiet about it is not somebody that you want to make upset. So we can see why he needed to get away while also telling the OP that he still loves them. The OP also goes as far as calling it a success, which to me gives off the stalker type of rationalization, where everything's okay no matter what. Other commenters would also point this out. I cannot see how making your husband weep and then run off to a hotel is a success, but I did read your original posts, so I already know your sense of reality is skewed. I hope you coming clean to everyone is something you can all work through, but I can't imagine the trust ever being repaired. Good luck, stalker lady. Godspeed. And the situation would reach a conclusion in a later update to this post. Woke up this morning to find out that hubby not only lied about going to a hotel to stay at, but also lied about not wanting a divorce through a text message. He went to his family's home, not a fucking hotel, told them the entire story himself, probably exaggerated it too to make me seem crazy. His whole family wants nothing to do with me and claims I'm psycho. He said that he lied about going to a hotel because he knew if he told me the truth, I would try to stop him. Honestly, I feel so betrayed. I tried to be a good wife by showing him the true me, and this is what he does? I did all of this work just for it to end up like this? Honestly, I kind of deserve it. I didn't even tell him in the first place because I felt bad. I told him because I had a suspicion that he was catching on to the fact that I knew him for 2.5 years before he knew me. Largely because I found out he was keeping my old phone in his work desk. My old phone that has screenshots of a lot of his old Instagram posts, plans in my notes app about him, etc. So I guess he never truly loved me if he can't even get past an honest confession like this one. I might update this in a few years when I find a new husband, lol. And that's pretty much that. I fully understand why the husband lied about the hotel. I mean, who tells a stalker where they're going? I do appreciate the OP at least somewhat understanding the reaction when they mention that they kind of deserve it. But the overall tone seems to change from I hurt my husband to he never really loved me. This isn't some small confession. The trust that the husband had in his wife was shattered, not being able to know if he truly fell in love with her, or if he and his family were manipulated over the course of many years. This is not something to take lightly. I just hope that the OP learns from this situation and approaches any new relationship in a normal and healthy way. On May 22nd, 2025, a Redditor by the name Cardiologist Sfar 5239 came onto the r/2hottakes subreddit, seeking advice on how her husband was handling an old stalker that resurfaced into their lives. My old stalker is back, and my husband is making me feel like I'm the crazy one. Hi, sorry, this is my first time writing in this, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to jump in. I'm using a throwaway because I'm sure my actual account is being watched. Also fake names. So I, 32F, and my husband, 33M, have been arguing a lot recently over my old stalker. For some background, back in college, I was 24, I dated a guy, let's call him Fred, for around 2 months. Fred was interesting to say the least. To save time, he had several red flags once we started dating, so I dumped him. Fred acted like he couldn't care less, so I thought that was that. Few months go by, and I'm starting to see Fred everywhere. I see him at the grocery store I go to, my go-to nail place, my favorite restaurants, etc. I thought it was just a weird coincidence, so I left it at that. A year after our breakup, he starts messaging me, telling me he was the happiest with me and that he misses me so much. I called BS and blocked him. Then things escalated. Fred changed numbers every time I blocked him, made new social media accounts, and I started seeing his car everywhere. I tried getting a restraining order against Fred, but since he hadn't done anything to me, they couldn't do anything. A few months later, I was walking to my car at night, and Fred coincidentally saw me walking alone and offered me a ride home. I said no, that I had my own car and kept walking. Fred proceeded to get out of his car and tried pushing me to his car. I punched him and ran to my car. Then I drove away, and luckily, he didn't follow. I tried again to get a restraining order, but it was basically his word against mine. They gave me a temporary restraining order, but that's it. I was terrified of even walking outside and deleted all my socials. Thankfully, a very close friend, let's call him Pete, stepped in to defend me. Pete ended up threatening Fred, and I finally stopped hearing from Fred. I felt free and slowly got back into my normal life. Now to present day. I'm now married to my husband. I've graduated from college and live alone with my husband. We moved to a nearby city and bought a house together. Sadly, a month ago Pete died during his sleep, and I was absolutely devastated. I've known Pete since I was in high school, and he was my closest friend. To be honest, I'm still not over his death, and sometimes I can't believe he's gone. But guess who heard about his death? That's right, folks. Fred found out and is now back. I received texts from Fred a few days ago after Pete died. I now see him everywhere, and he's insisting we talk. I just walk away and ignore him. I reported him, but nothing has happened, so I deleted my socials again. Friends have been telling me Fred has been asking around about me. He's asked if I moved, what I'm doing lately, if I have other social media accounts, etc. I'm honestly terrified. I've moved since I finished college, but somehow I see him at the gym, grocery store, the park, etc. It honestly makes me believe he never stopped watching me, and it's terrifying. I've told my husband about everything, and he says I'm overreacting or just plain ignores my concerns and changes the subject. I've argued that he doesn't care, and he argues back asking, what do I expect him to do? He says Fred doesn't know where we live and that we'll just change gyms. My husband is telling me to just change my regular routine and stop going to certain places. He says it's no big deal and Fred is harmless. I'm like, Fred tried to force me into his car. How is that harmless? My husband has been distant ever since it started, and I feel alone. I don't want to tell my friends in fear that they'll tell Fred. I can't go to my family because I'm in no contact with them. And of course, my husband couldn't care less. I need advice. What do I do? Am I crazy? Should I just change my gym and my routine like my husband says? Part of me just wants to move completely, but another part is basically asking myself, why do I have to uproot my life and change everything because of him? Can't he just leave me alone? It's been like 10 years already and I want to move on from this. Should I just talk to Fred hoping he'll finally leave me alone? I don't think that the OP should have any contact with her stalker at all, because stalkers thrive on attention, and even the smallest amount of attention, positive or negative, can reinforce their feelings towards the person that they're obsessed with. Commenters would rightfully express their concerns. What your husband should have done is exactly what Pete did for you all those years ago. Sounds like both he and Fred are spineless cowards. If your husband isn't going to support and protect you, his wife, you need to divorce. You cannot stay with someone you don't trust to support and protect you. My husband's excuse is that the law will protect me, and if Fred tries anything, he'll end up in jail. It pisses me off when he says that. Do I have to end up in a ditch for me to finally be taken seriously? The OP shouldn't have to uproot her entire life because someone is irrationally obsessed with them. It's not fair. And her husband's dismissiveness about the situation is very disappointing, with more than one commenter telling the OP that they should divorce their husband, though she would appear to have a more serious conversation with her husband in an update uploaded the next day. Small update and some more information about my stalker situation. I'm still new to posting on Reddit, so for the first part of my post, it should be on my account. My friends don't talk to Fred and they're aware of the situation. Fred has reached out to them randomly asking about me. They have reported and blocked him as well. Now for the update. Last night, I decided to have a serious conversation with my husband one last time. I sat down with him and explained the whole situation again. Told him how scared I've been and that he needs to take this more seriously. I wanted to show him how terrified I was, how small I've been made feel, not just by Fred but also him, how his lack of support/concern for my own safety is making me question our marriage. I asked if he'd even do anything if I was found in a ditch. He went silent the whole time while looking at the floor. We sat in silence for a few minutes before I got up to pack my things. My husband proceeded to cry. He apologized and said he'd make this right. He said he didn't want to overreact in fear of scaring me more, when in reality it made me feel alone. My husband has been looking into Fred without my knowledge and has found out where he works, lives, and even Fred's family contact information. He wanted to gather more information about Fred before contacting a lawyer. We're both taking a few days off work to get our ducks in a row. We're getting a lawyer and gathering evidence of Fred's harassment. We're also currently looking for a therapist so that we can both talk about the situation and other issues we have in our marriage. I also have voicemails Fred has left me, and I officially think he's lost it. I have an Apple iPhone, and you're able to see voicemails from blocked numbers. Some of the messages are of him saying straight up gibberish, or as if he's having a conversation with me. He says things like, "Oh yeah, babe, I get off work late, so tonight is a no-go." Or, "I'm off, so you can come pick it up right now." No, yeah, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. There's a lot of fashion in my life. My husband does feel bad and is trying his best to console me. He has apologized repeatedly for making me feel lonely and has been more supportive/open. Currently, he's looking through my car to check if there's anything that might be giving my location to Fred. I'll keep you all updated if we find anything, or if anything else happens. Thank you all for your advice and support. I can somewhat understand the husband not wanting to scare her by overreacting, though I'm not sure if this was the best method to initially take. At least now she knows that he does care, and he's been doing things behind the scenes to start building a case on Fred. But there was no update until around 2 weeks later, on June 6th. Wasn't sure if I should make an update, but decided to anyways to maybe get some more advice. Thank you to everyone who gave me advice and encouragement. I finished listening to the book, The Gift of Fear, and it really opened my eyes to a lot. Now on to the update. After my husband didn't find anything in my car, I still felt something was wrong. So I took people's advice and took the car to a mechanic. Told the mechanic about my situation and if he could take a look at my car. And to my horror, a couple days later, my mechanic found a small little cube that was placed hidden under my car. At first, I really wanted to believe it was just a part of my car or something, but my mechanic explained that it wasn't, and it was deliberately hidden. The cube is really small and magnetic. I called my lawyer right away and told them everything. I got pictures of the GPS and where it was placed. I thanked the mechanic and drove to my lawyer's office. At this point, I was shaking and wanted to cry. How long had the GPS been there? How long has Fred been following me without me knowing? Was he watching me at that moment? Is he going to add another one? I called my husband to meet me at the lawyer's office and told him everything. At the office, I just wanted to disappear. I wanted to run away and not look back. I was terrified, and I felt so violated, knowing I was being watched for who knows how long. With everything we had gathered, my lawyer was able to get a temporary restraining order that same day. We're currently going through the process of getting a restraining order where I will have to go to court and see Fred again. My lawyer says the process can be long and draining, but it's something I do need to get for my own safety. I got a bit scared and had my husband's car also checked for anything. Thankfully, nothing was found in his car. I started feeling watched at home, so I had my whole house turned upside down looking for anything maybe Fred had placed. Again, thankfully nothing was found. I have told neighbors about what we found and to keep an eye out for anyone suspicious. I have also started my safety training for handling a gun and shooting, and still trying to get my CCW, but it can be a long process. Thank you again for everyone who has given me advice, and I'll keep you updated if Creepy Fred tries anything. At the time of this recording, it's been around 7 months since the OP updated the situation, which is longer than it usually took when they were active, so we can hopefully assume that so far nothing has happened to warrant an update and that the legal process is progressing. Unfortunately, the process can take a very long time and cost a lot of money, so it's upsetting that the OP has to go through it, but like the lawyer said, they have to do it for their own safety. At least now the OP has seemingly armed themselves, so in the event that Fred were to attempt something drastic, the OP will have the means to defend themselves, though I hope it doesn't have to come to that. Our final post starts over a decade ago, in late September of 2014, on a post uploaded by a user named Mrs. Steal Your Cat onto the r/self-sub, and in this situation, things got so bad that the OP had to take extreme measures to protect themselves. Anyone had success with private investigators? For the past 6 months, I have been relentlessly stalked and had threats against my life made from someone I dated for a month. It started with phone calls upwards of 40 to 50 a day, 50-page text messages, and him showing up outside my house at 5 a.m. When I wouldn't comply or feed the negative attention, I began to receive threats, claims that he would murder me and get away with it, and all he would have to do is flee the country, telling me he shouldn't have to force me to be his friend or give him another chance or else. Every time I blocked his number from contacting me, he would then call me from different ones, try and pretend to be other people, or have his friends or sometimes even random strangers he'd ask on the street. I once scared an unsuspecting guy half to death after informing him that the person who had just told him to call me was actually stalking me, and I sent him proof. He ended up calling the police on him, but he fled, of course. After about 2 months of that, I was evicted from my apartment building due to my neighbors no longer feeling safe because of his looming presence. Then I applied and was granted a temporary protection order. A few days afterwards, I received a picture message of the note that the sheriff had left on the door of my stalker's then residence, with a message taunting me that what you were trying to do was stupid, and a restraining order is just a piece of paper. So ultimately, he just ended up avoiding the process server, and simple as that, I was not being protected at all. May 31st of this year, I relocated. This did not deter my stalker. He vowed to find wherever I moved to and threatened that if he couldn't find me, he would be able to find my family, and then proceeded to send me a map of my mother's home who he had never met. I received a message from a woman claiming to be my former landlord, letting me know that I owed a balance on my account, and to avoid late fees, I needed to pay the amount, to which I could do with the link provided in the message. Turns out my stalker was pretending to be a woman, and the link turned out to be a tool used to grab the user's IP address when they clicked the link. Upon this discovery, I changed my phone number and began to systematically dismantle any trace of an online presence I once had. This action only seemed to anger him, and before deleting the profiles outright, I would attempt to block him from contacting me. Each and every time I blocked one, he simply created a new one and proceeded to contact me as if nothing had happened. 12 different Reddit accounts, 9 different Tumblrs, 10 different Instagrams, 3 Meetup accounts, 4 Facebooks, with which he changed his location to that of my hometown and proceeded to add nearly everyone from my graduating class in high school, and even 3 Duolingo accounts, and MySpace. Yes, MySpace. I then received an empty package from him addressed to my former residence with the declaration, address correction requested, do not forward. I'm assuming he thought that the post office would adhere to his request and return the package to him with my new corrected address on it. Mid-July, he created a profile using my photos and likeness to threaten my family. When I didn't respond, he proceeded to post semi-nude pictures of me on the profile in an attempt to blackmail me into speaking with him. I did not, and contacted Twitter to report the account and have it removed, which they eventually did. On August 21st, 2014, I awoke around 8 p.m. to vigorous knocking and ringing at my doorbell. I look out the window to see who it is, and I was horrified to see my stalker there. I called the police, and of course, he fled once again. Over 7 separate police reports filed. This incident was followed by threatening emails from my stalker, demanding that I meet him somewhere, or because he had found me, the next time I would wake up to gunshots, and that if I didn't, he would first taser you and rape you in the ass using your boyfriend's blood as lube. This past Sunday night, I woke up at 6:45 a.m. to the ringing and banging again. I proceeded to record him on video while I was on the phone with the police. He fled on foot again, and I was hit with the same hoopla from law enforcement. Well, we can't really do much because technically at this point, he's not doing anything wrong. Then why does he flee, I wonder? I obtained a temporary protection order again, but I have no solid address for this dangerous person, which is why I'm in dire need of a private investigator to assist in finding said residence so this person can be served. I hope you might be able to refer me to someone who might be able to assist me. I've developed insomnia, depression, anxiety, and paranoia. I'm completely isolated. I am 22 years old and have no social life anymore. I have 0 friends. I have become a shell of my former self. I have faced eviction and lost a job because of this man's behavior, and I don't know how much longer I can survive. There's actually so much more filler shit that he has done to terrorize me, but for the sake of this already lengthy post, I tried to condense it. I have proof in the form of recordings, event diaries, and copies of all his threats, interactions, and attempts to communicate, and would be more than willing to email them to show I'm not lying. I am in Las Vegas if that helps at all. This case of stalking is clearly one of the more extreme ones. The OP stalker is dangerous, and of course, commenters expressed their concern for the OP and gave them advice. Damn. I remember talking to an old friend of mine from Vegas who was saying she'll get a CCW soon. I kind of think I should forward this to her. Soon just doesn't seem soon enough. To which the OP replied back, do it. My gun saved my life. Which brings us to an update that the OP uploaded on October 8th, 2014. I'm writing this staring at the mess the police left for me, in a bit of a fog. After 6 months of stalking and threats against my life, my stalker finally snapped and decided to kick my door in and make good on his promise. Out of fear, the past month I had begun sleeping with a chair propped against my front door to give myself a few extra precious seconds in case of an emergency. I shuddered to think how differently things might have turned out had I not barricaded the door. I awoke around 1:15 a.m. to the sound of the door giving away after one kick, followed by the sounds of my stalker struggling to dislodge the chair while forcing his way inside. I jumped up and grabbed the gun I've learned to do everything, even shower, with. I stood at the top of my stairs and fired twice, hitting him in the chest. I heard his scream, his disbelief that I'd stood up for myself, from 0 to 100 in milliseconds. I had never been so afraid in my life. I do not know if he's living, but I do know the police have him, and that's what helps the most. For months of him evading the police, I began to question whether he was unstoppable, untraceable, or Houdini. He would murder me and get away with it. As of now, I am in a haze of guilt, surprise, relief, and disbelief. I shook as the canines dragged him out from his hiding place under a bush. I survived, where so many people do not. Holy shit, I survived. That's right. Everything built up to the point where the OP had to shoot their stalker to defend themselves. In the image provided in the post, we can see the 2 bullet holes in the door where the OP shot. The story even got so much attention that it made it onto the news. This article provides more screenshots of text messages between the OP and the stalker, and informed us that the stalker had not lost his life and was being treated in a Nevada hospital. From there, they were set to face charges of home invasion and aggravated stalking. After the situation, the OP got a lot of support as well as criticism, to which the OP would respond to in an edit to their post. Edit. The outpouring of support is wild. I can't thank you guys enough. Everyone can be a critic, and the fact still remains. You don't know what you will do in a situation until it's presented in front of you. Those who believe there was other things to be done have never had someone tell you that you no longer deserve to draw a breath and mean it. And as for the should have fired a warning shot folks, there are no warning shots. A gun is a deadly force. You only pull that trigger if you're in fear for your life, and all other methods of deterring are gone. When he kicked my door in, there was no longer a deterrent preventing harm. Warning shots are dangerous and could hurt the unintended. This is not a Wild West movie. That's what responsible gun ownership is. I'll update once things have calmed down a bit, I promise. I'll write back to everyone, and after being isolated for so long, anyone who wants to be friends, I'm always accepting those. Following this post, it seemed as though the OP had finally been free of this person, but it was around 6 years later, our OP stalker would make it onto the news again, getting arrested in 2019 for doing the exact same thing that they did to our OP to another woman, only this time it was in Arizona. A Nevada man has been sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to stalking a female acquaintance while on parole for a similar crime that happened in Las Vegas. The Washoe County District Attorney's Office in Reno announced the sentence for 28-year-old Douglas Eugene Jackson. On Friday, Jackson was arrested in Florence, Arizona in January and pleaded guilty to the aggravated stalking charge in July. According to prosecutors, an investigation by the Sparks Police Department determined Jackson had sent numerous threatening text messages to a woman over several months in 2019. The texts included threats against the woman's dog and property. He also called the woman's family and friends in an effort to get information about her. At the time of the threats, Jackson was on parole for stalking a former girlfriend in Las Vegas. That woman ended up shooting him at her home. According to the district attorney's office, prosecutor Travis Lucia sought a maximum sentence because of the terrifying nature of Jackson's conduct, which came after only a month on parole from the previous crime. Even after serving almost half a decade for the first incident, Douglas didn't even make it 2 full months before he was arrested again. But despite the DA's statement about issuing the maximum penalty for this behavior, the maximum time for aggravated stalking is only 15 years, which in his case, I do not feel is enough time. I decided to look up his name to see if I could find out if and when he was scheduled to be released. You can actually find him very easily on the Nevada Inmate Search website, where we can see that Douglas has been applying for parole and had a hearing as recently as October 2nd of this year. Thankfully, it appears that he had been denied parole. but he could be eligible again in 2016 and be released in March of 2027, which, if you're doing the math, does not add up to 15 years. This is because of the way Nevada's prison credit system works, meaning if he earned enough credits, he could be released without serving the full 15-year sentence. But the story doesn't end there. In 2023, the OP and original stalking victim began going viral on TikTok after they began telling the story with greater details about their experience with Douglas. I will link her TikTok and posts in the source list and encourage you to watch them if you want all of the details. But as it stands, the story ends here. The OP is currently doing well, but I was not able to find any more information about the second stalking victim. Hopefully, Douglas serves the maximum amount of time possible, and in the case that he does get released early, I truly hope that he stays far away from the OP and his other victim as possible, and of course, hope that he doesn't find another future victim. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see. And that wraps up this episode of the Reddit Archive. But before we go, if you enjoy the content and wants to help me make more videos so that we can upload more frequently, send an email to coldcoffinbiz.com. I'm looking for a researcher to help me find more video ideas, as well as help me edit and proofread my scripts. And I'm also looking for a video editor that can maintain my current video style, but also aid me in improving it. Ultimately, I will still be the one writing the scripts and recording everything myself, but I would like some help with the more time-consuming aspects of making these videos. I have included a link to a Google Doc that will provide more information about what I'm looking for if you're considering joining the team. And that's pretty much it. Make sure you're subscribed to the second channel, Cold Coffin Reads, for story narrations from Reddit. Let me know which of these stories you found the most disturbing down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.